All right, welcome. Liz, I think you're muted.
Hi. Welcome to Mamaliez. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, Mamaliez is about inspiring others by sharing of behind closed door stories with unconditional love and respect. Now, before we go any further for tonight's special guest show, I'm going to share with you first what we're going to about our next show. Next week on Friday, I'm inviting a very good friend of mine. We used to study together in the UK, and her name is Ija Rashidi. So right now she is a director of HR, and she'll be sharing us a very interesting, interesting story about her life, inspiring life journey, especially how she survived domestic violence. So I think this is a real behind closed door stories. But come and join us next week on Friday at 10:30 p.m. and uh, and meet up with Ija. Yeah? So that is for next week on Friday. So and tonight let's talk about Dr. Nina. Dr. Nina, let me get her slides. So Dr. Nina is my good friend in Qatar. When I was living in Qatar, she is a child and clinical consultant psychologist from School of Behavioral Social Science and Humanities from University of Ballarat, Australia, Psychology and Mass Communication, Monash University. She also writes on medical journals contributor. Now she's also a flower whisperer. I call her because she has beautiful garden of beautiful flowers in the middle of desert of Doha, Qatar. And she's a dance mom. What I mean by her dance mom, she has her kids dancing international, Malay traditional dance in Qatar. She now lives in Doha, Qatar, and that's how I met her. And she's an amazing friend, an amazing doctor as well. She has helped me through a lot of my turbulent. I was going through postpartum depression actually last year. Not last year. After I gave birth, I went through a lot on a postpartum depression, and Dr. Nina has helped me through it to overcome that very turbulent time. It was up until I was almost suicidal, but she really helped me, and I survived it. And I thank her so much. She is there at the right time, at the right moment in my life when I needed someone support in that. Without any further ado, I'd like to invite our Dr. Nina Hafetz. Okay, hi Nina.
Hi,
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Doha, Qatar.
Thank you for having me.
Our Nina G, I think her internet is not really working stable, so we will just wait for her to come back. But while we wait for her to come back, maybe you can tell a bit about yourself to the audience.
Sure. So my name is Nina Hafetz. I am talking to you live from Doha, Qatar. This is where we have been living as a family for the last 13 years. I am Malaysian, but I left Malaysia, I think, a very long time ago, I think when I was 19. So that was way back. I am a wife, a mother. I have 3 beautiful children, alhamdulillah, mashallah. And in my pastime, my garden. So that's what I do.
So maybe later you'll share us some pictures about your beautiful garden.
A paradise, I call it. So
Eden of Paradise. Oh, Nina G is back. I'm waiting for. Okay, so maybe before we start off about today's topic, hi Nina G, what happened? You disappeared for a while.
Yeah, I'm back in my hometown, so the internet. I think I might be taking Kit Kat breaks in and out, but yeah, continue, ladies.
Oh, I didn't realize you're in a hometown actually.
Yeah, that's why my internet kind of sucks because we're on StreamYard and not the Unify thing.
Oh, I see. So yeah, maybe before we start, let's do a shout out and let me we have some audience here. We have Mamaliez is one of my old friends, also my friends in Qatar. Thank you for joining us. Please let us know your name, where you're from, where you're tuning in from. Let us know so that we can have a shout out. Yeah, and okay, so let's go. And anyone else is joining, just let us know who you are. Yeah. Okay, so Nina, let's talk about the title today, how I proactively create positive energy around me. Now, one thing about you, I've always known you, so, from the time I met you in Doha, Qatar, nothing fazed you. Like everything, you smile, I mean, some people like, wow, I'm cool. I mean, she's like, nothing fazed her. Like, she always handles it with with a smile. I never seen you get angry before. I never seen you.
You should ask I think my children are going to disagree. But no, I think it's not easy when you I think the expectation is that you are going to face challenges. It can be big, it can be small, it can be temporary, it can be maybe long term. I think expectation is key. Once you understand that things are going to happen, things can go wrong, as in Murphy's law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. I think you develop a way. Hi Nina. You develop a way of dealing with things. Because everything is temporary. Even being happy is temporary. You're not happy all the time. You're happy, you're upset, you are frustrated, and so on and so forth. So you learn to have perspective, which is why my motto that I had with you, what I live by, is that you learn to view things from multiple lenses.
Right.
So that you can start to understand, things from different angles.
Right.
Looking at things, from multiple perspectives.
So tell me, did you think that you learn on handling things around you in a positive manner? Is it coming from your professional background as a psychologist, or is it from your childhood? Maybe you can share with us what you learned from your parents, your mom and your dad. How's your childhood like? Yeah, is it coming from then that you learned?
Yes. I think I wouldn't be here without the support of my parents, without their prayers. I wouldn't be here without the support of my siblings. I wouldn't be here without the support of my husband. I think a lot of people have come together to make things work for me. Right. I think part of that is I've learned how to look at things.
That's you.
So I've learned to look at things from, like I said, different perspectives from my parents. My mom she's a very strong person. She's very determined. Anything that comes her way, she goes, that's okay, we'll handle it. We'll go through it. So I think that having those messages growing up, that was very, very, that's my mom right there. And she herself has overcome many challenges in her life, but she gets back up again, dusts her shoulder, and then she moves forward, and she goes on. My dad, I learned a lot of humor from him. And I think you look at things, and it's not always bad. He is, he's very dedicated to his work. He's very dedicated to his family. So that's us right there. I was actually there on. My mom didn't know I was coming on that trip. It was her birthday present from my dad.
Where is it?
So they transited in Qatar, in the Hamad International Airport, and then I joined them in Qatar en route to the UK. We went for a tour around the UK. And so so that's my dad. My dad is a gynae. My mom is a restaurateur. She is a philanthropist. I've learned charity from her. Whatever she has, she'll give it to you. If you need it, she'll give it to you. You don't need it, she'll give it to you still. So I think it's having a very positive outlook in that sense. And I think having children has also helped me look on the bright side of things. So yeah, and of course, my husband and my my in-laws and family and my friends, of course. So it's that my siblings. So I'm an only girl. I'm the eldest, and I have 3 brothers. One of my brothers, the one right behind me, Muhammad Fadli, he is in Qatar right now. He works in Qatar as well, and he lives here with his family. One right next to me sitting down, Muhammad Firdaus, he is a respiratory specialist in New Zealand.
Wow.
So he's lived and worked in New Zealand ever since he graduated from medical school. And then my youngest brother, Muhammad Farhan, he lives in Malaysia. So he is the one who is the luckiest. He gets to see my parents collectively more than we all do. And yeah, he's works with a corporate company, and we're very close. We're very close, all of us.
Right. So, and then how about, what are the takeaways that you learned from your dad exactly that you bring forward till now that you remember of?
I think it's the fact that they always have my back. Knowing that someone, my dad and my mom, knowing that they always have my back. I can turn to them, if I need to talk about something, if I'm in, a bit of a situation. I think that gives me the strength, because I would say I can't do it alone. No one can. No one can. You are going to depend on others to help you. To guide you, to support you, someone, for you to cry with, someone for you to laugh with. So I think that's one thing. I think my dad has always been there, my mom, and in their own special way. Messages of support. My dad makes me laugh every day. Sending me jokes and all of that. And my mom, we share a love for gardening. She is an amazing cook. Amazing. She's very gifted. I think she can do it with her eyes closed.
So you learn from her how to cook well, huh?
I practice. I got to practice when I was in Australia. So my brothers were my guinea pigs. They survived. So I suppose it must have must have worked at some point.
Okay. What is this? Which school did you go to here?
So this was when I did my matriculation, right after Form 5. I went to an all-girls school all my life. This was an prime girls school.
Right.
So I think this was when we were probably in Form 2 or 3 maybe. But it's an all-girls school, and some of the ladies that are still on Facebook, we're still in contact with each other. This is matriculation at Sekolah Sultan Muhammad Jiwa in Sungai Petani.
So you did, is it a boarding school?
It is a boarding school. But I didn't go in to the school in the capacity of a boarder. It was more like for the first year of matriculation, you are sent out to different schools, and then in the second year you go to the main campus at USM in Penang.
So you were living in Johor at the time?
Yes, so I grew up in Johor Bahru. And then right after SPM, I went to USM, and I wanted to. I was very determined to do psychology, but what we realized then was that at the time, only university that offered psychology was UIA at the time back then, and you needed to have English literature. So I was in the science stream. I didn't have English literature. I didn't do English literature, so I couldn't get into the program. By that time, my brother was already in Australia, in Melbourne, and so my parents decided, okay, why don't we just send you over to Melbourne? And that's where I spent a good part of a decade, still a bit more than that, doing psychology. So I started out at Monash University, And then I went to do a postgraduate diploma, because in Australia, if you want to pursue master's or a doctorate, you have to. So that's right. That's me with my doctoral graduation. And you have to do a postgraduate study. So that's how it ended up. And then I was offered to skip masters and go straight to a doctoral program.
Oh, can do that. I didn't know that.
Depends on how you, depends on your grades. It depends on your grades. So you can actually,
This girl, Nina G, look at her, doctor straight to PhD, no master, lompat lagi.
I think it's because I got to do what I love.
So,
right.
Why did you want to do psychology?
So I have always been fascinated with the human mind. One of my, I know a lot of my good friends know this. I don't read romance novels. I'm not into those things. A lot of my books, I don't know if I should say this out loud even, but a lot of my books are actually on psychopathology.
You should.
And, serial killers and, so... So that's what I love reading, and that's what I love watching on TV as well. I'm fascinated with psychology, just because I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing, what you can do with your mind and how things can go wrong and what it does to every aspect of yourself as a person. So that's how I got into psychology. And my parents have always been supportive. Although I do think they suspect that the reason why I went all the way and did a doctoral program was so I could remain in Melbourne, Australia for longer.
Maybe we can go to the audience. Anyone here, can you just say hello, where you're writing from? Are you in Malaysia? Are you in Qatar? Or are you in Australia? Where you are, just let us know. And let us know where you're tuning in from so that we can say hello. Thank you for tuning in with us. So, okay, so let's continue. So next you went to, did you go to US after that?
So the timeline was, I met my husband towards the end of my doctoral program. I wasn't done yet. I was, still doing my thesis, and we got married, and then I got pregnant, and then so we took a break from my studies, and then gave birth, and then went back to so that's my husband right there, and we went back to I went back to Malaysia. I went back to Australia, to Melbourne, to finish my doctoral program. And I had to leave my 9-month-old behind. And my wonderful father-in-law and mother-in-law and my in-laws basically took over my duties as a mom. I must say they did an amazing job with my son. It was hard because I had to leave him behind, and then so what happened was my mom would bring him every 2 months to Australia so I could meet him. Instead of me going back, he would come, my parents would come and visit us, visit me, and then she would bring him. And then we had to part ways again. So I think that was for me very, very challenging. But it also gave me an incentive, to really focus on my thesis and to get it done. And my professor, Professor Rapson Gomez, he was amazing. He was, he really, really made me work hard, and to the point where I, when you hand in your thesis, and they go through your thesis, there's always a possibility, and that usually happens where they get back to you and they say, right, so can you fix this? Can you change this? And can you kind of, make some changes and then resubmit, right? So my professor pushed me to the point where he looked at every single detail of my thesis And when they sent it in, submitted, the submission of the thesis, it came back to us with nothing, no changes needed. And then that was my thesis. So that was all him. That was all my professor.
So there's Vivian. Thank you, Vivian, for tuning in. She's asking you how you manage with your studies with all the responsibilities.
Okay, so I think the way I had done my studies was I made sure that I was already doing my studies before I got married. And so it was just, about a year or so left for me to finish my doctoral program, which meant that I had to rely on a lot of people to help me. I didn't do it all on my own. So we, when I got married, I had only 1 year left, and I had to really make sure I was focused so I could get that all done. And so when I started my life after that, with us as a family, it was me focusing on basically my family rather than balancing that. I think I have a lot of respect. I know some of my friends who have pursued doctoral programs after, getting married and having children. I have the utmost respect for how they do that, I think. And my father was one of them, where he did his specialization once he got married. And I think that's amazing. But I had a lot of support system. I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own.
So you're doing long distance relationship with your child and your husband?
And my husband, yes. He bless my husband. He's a very patient man. He's very supportive. When we got married, his friend had asked him, don't you feel a little bit, intimidated by the fact that your wife has a doctorate, has a PhD? And his answer was, he said, not at all. In fact, I'm very proud of her. And that I think is, so I think that is testament to how supportive he has been. But it is hard. Long distance relationships are hard. And back then, we didn't have video calls. We didn't have technology, and we relied on text messages, really, phone calls and text messages. And that was how it was.
And those scratch cards, right?
Yeah. Hey, but Nina G, you should listen to how Dr. Nina met her husband. You must share the story.
Oh, I would like to know that. How? Do tell.
That's a story.
Yes.
That's a story.
Yes.
Another.
Yeah, I want to hear. Let him hear. Let everybody hear. I love the story.
Okay. So,
how many of you guys want to know? Let us know in the comment section.
Yeah. Do you guys want to know how they met?
Definitely. I definitely do.
Thank you, Vivian. I do have a great and supportive husband. He's amazing. He's a blessing. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I'll make the story short. Short. So when I was younger, there was the three families, three group of families. So it was my family, my mom's best friend's family, and my husband's uncle's family, where we did things together and we traveled together. We took holidays together as a family. So at that time, I didn't know that my husband existed. He, though, I think when he was in high school, knew about me, but I didn't know about him. So one of his aunties was my headmistress at school. His other auntie, a very gifted musician. She's since passed, but she was my choir teacher, right? And I still didn't know that he existed. And then his cousins, of course, went to my school as well. And it turned out much later on, he said to me, he said, his cousins had always teased him, about me. Like, he's like, oh, you should end up with, Nina, you should end up with her, you should. And then he was like, who is this person? So he had no idea, because he was living in KL, I was living in JB at the time. So anyway, long story short, I attended his cousin's wedding. So Katlin, they all studied in Melbourne as well. It so happened that I was able to go back to attend her engagement. Actually, it was an engagement. Well, it was amazing. It was massive. It was very grand, and that was when I saw him. So I just saw him. I was with my mom, and I was acting very demure, with my mom, and he was helping out. And actually, I was really trying to be just like.
Are you demure? Are you perempuan Melayu terakhir like that lah?
I saw him.
But is that the highest truth or how? Real life?
Is that? So I saw him, and I thought, oh my God, he was really good looking. But then I was thinking, oh, like he probably has a girlfriend, so on and so forth. And then I was always with my mom, so he saw me as well. But we didn't really talk because I was always with my mom and didn't want to, he was too shy to come and start a conversation. So at that time, I still didn't know who exactly he was. I didn't know that it was, he was his uncle's, he was family basically. So anyway, long story short, I was in Australia, and I think my mom said something about, oh, what are you thinking about getting married? When I'm like, no, I'm not worried about that. Most of my friends are not married. Let me just finish my studies first, and let me get it over and done with, and then I'll think about that. So of course, then her mind started, she's like, okay, so she and it turned out that it was kind of everything coming together at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. Right. And so everyone kind of had a hand in it. And they kind of brought us together. They kind of brought us together, and we kind of hit it off. We basically hit it off from the get-go. And I think it was good 2 years when I first saw him to when we actually started having a relationship, and things kind of, alhamdulillah, it was all good. And I think when you have your parents' blessings, I think things work out better. That's what I think. And it kind of, it's very smooth and all of that. And and so about 17 years on, here we are.
Bravo. So now that you actually got married to him, you follow him to everywhere, including then finally to Qatar, right? So
yes,
now
yes. So we had a short stint in Helsinki, Finland. He had this was after I gave birth, and then before I went back to Australia. So he was stationed there for work, and so we went to live there for a bit. It wasn't very long. And then I came back to Malaysia, and then went back to Australia to finish my studies. And then we came back, and I think we came back to Malaysia for probably about 6 months before we then moved to Qatar.
Oh, look at this. Hi, Nina. This is my previous show guest, Nina Justin, all the way from Amsterdam.
Hi, Nina.
She also had a very beautiful story that she told us about how she met her husband. So today we also hear this Nina. So this Nina, Miss Ed. We have 3 Ninas tonight. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Nina Justin, Dr. Nina, and Nina Girl. Yes, another Nina. Okay, so maybe Nina Power, all of you. So tell us about your life in Qatar. Because when I was came to Qatar, and thankfully I met all of you, and the thing about living in Qatar is like we are in this bubble, like everything. For me, it's like I think it's one of the best place to raise your family, because you won't be busy other things. When I come back to Malaysia, I'm like, busy. But in Qatar, it's more relaxed. We know what's gonna do. We will have our activities. We meet up with the girls, and we have play dates. It's not so hectic as it is in Malaysia. You know?
That's true. That's true. So when we first came, we landed in July of 2008, which I didn't know then, was summer in Qatar. And the summers in Qatar are sizzling hot. They get up to, in some areas, they get up to 55 degrees Celsius. But, to go up to 50 degrees Celsius, it's normal. It's normal. So we came and I think in the 13 years that I've been here, Qatar has come in leaps and bounds in terms of their development, in terms of their, greenery, especially. But when I came back then, it's a desert. It still is a desert. And that's how I started gardening, because it was hard. It was hard having lived in tropical Malaysia. I grew up in tropical Malaysia, and then when I moved to Melbourne is a beautiful city. And then where I lived, it was walking distance to the Royal Botanical Gardens. I was in a very nice neighborhood. You have big trees and beautiful greenery, and I took that for granted. And then I came to Qatar, and all you could see was sand. Really, that's how I decided. I need some greenery. I need to kind of recreate that. I find that very very therapeutic. So I said to my husband, bless him, I said to him, so it's either you pay for me to start, having a garden, or you start paying for therapy. So that's how we started with the garden. And my garden has moved with me. When I move houses, they all on my plants, everything. The ones in the ground, they come with me. And so yeah. And so it was challenging at the beginning, but I think a lot of my friends, who've gone back to their home countries after having lived in Qatar, I think we're quite spoilt in Qatar. So that's my garden right there. So I think we're quite spoiled in Qatar. It's one of the most safest countries that you could live in. It's very beautiful now. They have amazing architecture. They have an education hub, that's amazing as well. You get more time. I think time is slower in Qatar. You get more time. I know Liz will attest to this. We get to spend more time with friends because it's a relatively small country. It doesn't take you very long to get from one end to the other. Now it is now. There's more traffic for sure, but they have developed, their road system, their networks, which is amazing now. Liz, if you come, you won't be able to recognize Qatar now. That's some of my garden Doha Garden group friends. So every winter in Qatar, we visit. I open my garden for garden tours, and then people come and visit, and we go around looking at everyone's garden.
Who does that, babe? I never heard anything like that, even in Malaysia. Doing garden tours,
Garden
private
tours.
garden tours.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not really much.
That's amazing.
It's not big, but there are garden groups on Facebook, and you can make it work. You just have to have knowledge. You have to know, the position where whether they're full sun or partial, they're in shade, what season they're in, and the ones that need a lot of water, the ones that need less water, the ones that need fertilizers, which fertilizers. So I usually bring a lot from Malaysia specific fertilizers. I can have 7 different fertilizers for different plants because they all play very different functions. But it is, you learn, and this is the ladies and the gentlemen in the group, they've been wonderful.
I think that's amazing.
Unheard of for me.
Amazing. Yeah. Can you imagine beautiful flowers like that in the middle of the desert of Doha, Qatar? You would think you are in London or something, or in Amsterdam, right? Nina, right? So, that's amazing. But I want to ask you, Dr. Nina, Dr. Nina, your opinion, right? I saw a movie where they say if you want to have a relationship, you must learn how to take care of the plant. And if the plant survive for 6 months or 1 year and it didn't die, that means you're ready to have a relationship. Is that true?
Well, there must be some truth in it, because when you take care of something, right, there's dedication, there's commitment, right? And then you also need to get to know the plant. If you're taking care of a plant, you need to get to know the plant that you're taking care of. Like I said, I do a lot of research in terms of their positioning, where they go in the garden, what kind of soil they need. Some may need sandy soil, some may need, soil with more sort of alkaline base, some more acidity. Even the fertilizers are different in terms of the ratio, some for root strength, some for leaves, and some for flowers. So I think it's very similar to when you are in a relationship and you nurture a relationship. It's the commitment, it's the dedication, it's understanding and getting to know the needs of that person. But I suppose there is some truth in it.
Yeah. And I know a lot of gardeners. My auntie, she's an ardent gardener and she's excellent. And I noticed she said you must talk lovingly with the with the plant. The way you talk, gently, and you must nurturing it.
Yeah, why not, right? It's God's creation. It's beautiful. I'm quite happy to have children in my garden, and they get to pick tomatoes, and they get to dig into soil. They get all dirty. I have a small space where it's like a pondo. It's where the kids get to play, and then they learn about life cycles. They learn about being committed with watering, checking your plants and seeing how they're doing, and all that. And I think it's healthy. It's healthy for children's development. It's not just for us adults. For children's development, it's very healthy to be interested in gardening.
That's awesome. I just want to share with you about the moms in Doha. Nina Ji, let me tell you, if we make a meeting with all of the Doha moms, we can make a cooperation. Because they are all like some doctors, lawyers, they are engineers, and they would leave their own professional job to follow their partners, their husbands, working so hard, and they're all so intelligent and smart. So now they are managing the household like a company also lah. Very, very. Because I also have this group when I arrived called Little Camel LCP, Little Camels. Where we have play dates among the kids, and they organize all these class, and they organize it so well. It's like, wow, you need what business do like a company. Really, everything was very smooth. They are really even a really mom corporation, I think.
The ladies that I have met here, they are very a lot of them are amazing. I mean, all of them are amazing, and they have given up their jobs back home to support the husband here. But I also know friends who they are working here as well. These ladies are working here as well. Yeah.
I know it's not easy, but I think we make our own families together. And I remember we went to one of the picnics. When I get down to the picnics, there were a range of Malaysian food. I think I ate so much Malaysian food. I never miss any Malaysian food, because every week there's always somebody cooking something.
That's true. I think when you live overseas, and you're far away from family, your friends are family. I think you learn to
become the family.
And you spend time with each other. My children, certainly enjoy. We were talking about the dance mom thing.
Ah,
a Malaysian traditional Malaysian dance group called Irama, and we have performed for the highlight for us was performing for Tuan Mahathir when he was here, and it's the brainchild of two ladies here, as Lynn Mokhtar, I think you may know her, and Kat Shaz. So they're very dedicated, and they themselves are professionals, but they spend a lot of time. This one was at Tun Mahathir's visit to Qatar. We've performed for a number of Malaysian dignitaries actually, and also at cultural and sporting events. So we've received a lot of those invitations. Yeah. And I think it's good. It's lovely that my children do not understand a single word of what this when the songs are. They don't understand that, but they love dancing to it. They enjoy getting together every Friday, and we all get together. Of course, there's always food, but the children get to socialize, and they learn traditional dance. Yeah, traditional dance.
Hey, you forgot this one. I was one of the original there. Original dancer, Malay dancer.
Mom, that's true.
Yeah. I wasn't just the dance mom. I was a dancing mom.
Dancer, yes.
But
yourself up.
Yeah. But I think if I would still stay in Qatar, I would be a dance mom. I would have my kids dancing as well, and join you guys.
Yeah.
So I miss that.
It's a way. I think it's a way for them to, because they're third culture kids. You have, as a parent, you have to find ways for them to connect to their culture. If you were living in Malaysia, I think it'd be different. But when you live overseas, wherever you are outside of Malaysia, I think you have more of an affinity to your culture, especially when you have children, because you want them to understand, where they come from, and where this is us after a performance, with the bags and all of that, and every one of those ladies, they all have responsibilities within the dance mom group, taking care of various aspects of it, and obviously putting it together at the end for a wonderful result. So those are my two kids, Sophia and Idris, and that was at Doha Festival City. I think it was for a cultural event.
Yeah. So anyway, I really miss living in Qatar, and that's the lifestyle that I missed. Living in Qatar, I don't know how to explain. Nina G, you never been to Qatar, right? When I was there, you should have visited me. When I was in New York City, Nina girl visit me in New York. But when I'm in Qatar, she doesn't want to visit me there.
Qatar is beautiful, but come in the winter months, come in the cooler months, and there's something for everybody. It's a beautiful country.
Okay, so now I just want to ask you back to the question tonight about how you proactively create positive energy around yourself. Yeah,
right.
I want to talk about the other day I was watching this session webinar. So I heard from I had a statement from Dr. Lavanya. Yeah, she's a psychologist in Malaysia. So she mentioned that it is there were high percentage of narcissistic environment in Malaysia. It's common. Apparently, it's common, and I was like, that's normal. I mean, I didn't think that is common. They say it's normal for people to be involved in a narcissistic relationship, either from family members or parents or siblings or friends, or partners. But we didn't realize it, What do you think of that statement? For people to be involved in a narcissistic relationship, either
so you're So if you're looking at a statement, there's always a percentage of a population with disorders, whether it's anxiety, whether it's mood disorders, whether it's personality disorders, whether it's autism or ADHD. And the thing is, I think because we are in an information age where you can Google things, you can find out things. There's a lot more information out there. A lot of that is through social media, and people are making concerted efforts to really create awareness in mental health. I think we are becoming more aware of it, right? And so you may have had connections or relationships or an interaction with someone with a personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder being one of that, but you may not realize that it has a name.
Right.
So and then until what usually prompts someone to understand it more is when they are involved in that and it causes dysfunction. Right. So you would expect that in any kind of relationship, whether it's parent-child, whether it is with a spouse or a significant other, whether it's with colleagues, whether it's the general public, you would expect a level of challenges, frustrations, things that you have to overcome. And that happens in every relationship, any kind of relationship, any kind of transaction.
Right.
But what prompts you to seek more information and maybe more support or help is when you realize that it's causing you maybe significantly more dysfunction, right? So let's get back to narcissistic personality. Let me kind of break it down to you. I think so that you can understand. I'll make a disclaimer though before I say it, is that narcissistic personality disorder, NPD for short, is a clinical diagnosis. So in order for you to receive that diagnosis, you would have gone through an assessment of some sort, a structured interview, a comprehensive interview really with a mental health professional who's qualified to give you a diagnosis. Now that's different to when you thinking, oh well, if I'm reading out some of these narcissistic traits, you realize, oh, maybe that's me, or maybe that's somebody that I know. Could that person be narcissistic, right? But you have to be careful because you can have some traits, So I might have OCD traits, like I might like things to always be neat. And I arrange all my, cans all facing forward. It could be that. But if I didn't do that, if I didn't have time to do that, it doesn't cause me, it doesn't cause me a lot of anxiety. It doesn't cause a lot of grief, right? So it's only when it causes you a significant amount of dysfunction that it becomes an issue. It becomes something that you need to address. So with narcissistic personality, shall I go into a bit of what it is and what it looks like?
Yeah.
Okay. So narcissistic personality disorder is, usually we use this. I'll show you this book. I don't know if you all can see it, but this is what we use to refer to any sort of, diagnostic.
That's a lot.
Yes. So they outline that, and they revise it, of course, and they keep coming up with revisions and all that. But it is basically, it's a personality disorder. It's a disorder whereby aspects of your personality is basically dysfunctional. Right. So you would, they have, with narcissistic personality, they have an inflated sense of their own importance. They lack empathy. They may need excessive attention. They're quite grandiose in that sense. But underneath, so they will come across as someone who appears to have a very high self-confidence. But in actual fact, their self-confidence and they have actually very low self-esteem, very low and very fragile self-esteem,
Right.
Okay, so it causes dysfunction. So it could be a dysfunction in relationships. It could be dysfunction with work. It could be a dysfunction in school. It could be a dysfunction in financial aspects, for example. So what you would look for in order to qualify for a clinical diagnosis is you have to basically display 5 or more out of 9 of the following traits, right? So a grandiose sense of self-importance, they exaggerate their achievements and their talents, and they're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, ideal, love. They think they're special and unique, and they usually think, okay, well, you won't understand me, but these other people would, and usually these other people are, they're successful in their own right, and they're very well known. They have great talent, so that's who they want to associate that with. And then they require excessive admiration. And they have a sense of entitlement. They expect to be treated special. They are manipulative. They take advantage of others. They don't always have empathy. So if you're in a narcissistic personality, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, you constantly feel frustrated with this person, because it's basically, in short, it's always me. It's always about them. So nothing is their fault. They are envious of others. They can be quite arrogant. They can be quite haughty in their attitude. So you have this cluster of symptoms, and they need to have at least 5 out of 9. So that's for a clinical diagnosis. So you will come across individuals with this. It could be a family member, it could be friends, and how you know that it appears like a dysfunctional relationship is that you're not happy in that relationship. You start questioning yourself. I think you feel as if it's not a balanced relationship, it's not a fair relationship. The focus is always on this one person, and it always has to be about them. It's always about what they want, and it's always about what they need and what they like. And it's quite exhausting to be in a relationship like that. And also for the fact that they have a very fragile sense of self-esteem, which means that they are very quickly triggered. So they have narc rage.
So one question, the thing is, like you said, for a person to be diagnosed, they must realize that they have these traits first.
Yes.
But usually people who have these traits, why would they want go for treatment or be diagnosed? It'd be very difficult, isn't it? Because then nature, or they are like that, they have that traits. And why? I have nothing wrong with me. Why should I go for assessment?
That's right. So it is one of the so personality disorders are actually, it's not impossible to treat them, but they can't be cured because it's an enduring thing, right? And so to get them into treatment is actually very, very difficult, because their sense of their worldview is that wasn't my fault. It was everybody else's fault, and there's nothing wrong with me. You are the one who needs help, right? You're the one who did that wrong. You're the one who said that. Look at how you made me feel, right? And so what you get is So when you look at
we have
a question.
We have a question here by Nizan Nick. Hi, Dr. Nina. Nizan here from Kuantan, Malaysia. Can NPB be a result of nurture, such as overprotective upbringing, or is NPB wired since birth?
Okay, so as in any disorder, especially with mental health, there is an element of nature and nurture, right? So there could be a genetic predisposition. So they found that autism, for example, or ADHD has hereditary elements to it. So it can be somewhat inherited. And And then you also have then nurture. So the environment, so as Nizan was asking, can that be, from overprotectiveness? It's always a mixture of elements. You can't quite pin it down to one thing.
Yeah.
Right. But if you grew up with the sense and you were made to feel, for example, if you're talking about nurture, if you grow up and you're made to feel as if you are very special, you are not taught accountability, you're not taught how to take responsibility, then you develop that mindset that, oh, well, it's not my fault, it's other people's fault. Right? And I am special, I am great. So so upbringing is that as well, but then you also get environment. So nurture is more sort of how you were brought up, but the environment that you live in as well. So if you are in a certain cultures will how do you say it, certain cultures will facilitate, inverted commas, will sort of facilitate a certain way of thinking. So if you look at different cultures, some cultures believe, collectivistic societies or cultures where they do everything together and everybody, it's not about you as one person. Whereas if you see in a lot of different other cultures, you get individualistic societies where it is about what you want. You go for what you want. You don't need to consider other people's feelings and other people's thoughts, and you go for what you want. So it's always that perfect storm, where if you do see a hereditary element, if you do see that in a child, and the thing is with personality disorders, you don't get diagnosed until you are, in young adulthood. But they've recently realized that children younger than 18, you can actually see it already, but you won't get the diagnosis of personality disorder not until you reach a certain age. But you can already. If you do see that, and if you spot that, okay, what you want to do is you want to learn how to deal with it before it's a monster.
Okay. So we have Nina Justin here asking, is perfectionism, especially in image creation, a trait of MPD?
So when you talk about image, you have to consider whether, why is that image important for you? So when you project an image, that image, you have an idea. So I would like to project an image of efficiency, for example, or someone who is disciplined. But when you talk about image with NPD, you're talking about how they want to be seen. So they want to be seen as special. They want to be seen as great. They want to be seen as an amazing person. They're the greatest at what they do. They're the best at what they do. Now, perfectionism, as what Nina Justin was saying, perfectionism is somewhat, there is a bit of that in there, but it's not necessarily just that, because it depends on how you wish others to perceive you.
Yeah.
You like things to be perfect, and it's only for yourself, but it's not for other people, then that is perfectionism on its own, where it's important for you to get things perfect. Right? So it's, this A-type personalities, and it needs to be perfect. It needs to be, everything needs to, and that's fine. But then again, there's a very thin line between that and then becoming dysfunctional. Right? Okay. So you always have to find that balance.
Don't you think like they don't want people to see their weak, and that's why they're showing this is the image that they want to show? They're very good at this. I don't want you to see my weakness.
Yes, so that comes from that's the reason why you often see them trying to project that image, because in their mind, this is how I want you to see me, because it's very important how you see me.
So that means narcissism is relating to image then?
Not necessarily just an image. It's not necessarily an image, but image, it plays a big role in that, because first thing, when you see someone, when you make an impression on someone, what they see is very visual. without opening your mouth yet, without them getting to know you, is how you present yourself.
Right. So,
Right.
right. So now that you said that most of the time people who has an MPD or has these traits, there's nothing much we can do, right? So how do we deal when we have these people in our life?
Right.
How do we do it?
So you have two things here. One
Yeah.
is when when you're talking about relationships, let's divide this roughly into two. One is when you are, no matter what you do, related or connected to this person.
Mhm.
That's one. And then you have another one where it might be a colleague, it might be a boss, it might be a friend, where
Yeah.
you're not connected to them in that way, you're not related to them in that way. In that sense, it's easier to break away.
Right.
Because the thing with NPD is that if it's untreated and that person is resistant to treatment, then you are looking at, if you choose to go ahead with that, then you have to be prepared for everything that comes with that, right? To the
Right.
point where you lose a sense of who you are because it's, focused on that one person. So with NPD, what you do is you want to walk away. You have a clean cut and you walk away.
Right.
Now, when you are related to that person, it could be, a mother-child relationship. It could be a father-child relationship. It could be, it's a family relationship. It could be between siblings, for example, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes a little bit more complicated.
Right.
Because then there comes the issue of, well, what do we do if you don't want to break that tie? You can still walk away, right? I mean, you always have that option. Not always the best option. It's an option. And you can walk away. So then when you are with that person, it could be even a spouse, for example. What do we do with that? So you first then need to make that choice, whether you're staying or whether you're leaving. Right?
Right.
So if you're staying, then assuming this person is not seeking treatment because of course they go, well, there's nothing wrong with me. Why would I need treatment?
Right.
And if you choose to make that right, if you make that decision to stay, then you have to be prepared, right? So one of that is educating yourself and familiarizing yourself with what NPD is all about, what that would look like in a person, how they act, how they behave, and what they say, right? So education is what we call psychoeducation. It's very important. So, you can even actually meet a professional and talk to them about it and go, am I just imagining this, or is this happening for real? Does this person that that I know and I'm related to or that I'm married to, can this person have narcissistic personality disorder? Right? So that's you getting some knowledge to understand that. Like I say, if you choose to stay, then you need to educate yourself, and then you also need to protect yourself. So you need to get support yourself. Okay, you need to get support. You need to be able to speak up for yourself, right? Because with narcissism, individuals with narcissism see themselves in a certain way, which means that they don't have any other perspective of looking at things,
Right.
which is why they also lack empathy, right? So they can fake it. Anyone can fake it if you learn enough, and you can fake it. But if you because they don't have empathy, they can't see it from your point of view, right? So when they don't see it from your point of view, like I said, it comes back to, okay, well, why, what's wrong with you? Why do you have a problem with that? I'm just being me.
Right.
Okay. So you educate yourself first, and then you also need to learn to speak up, and then you have to have boundaries.
Healthy boundaries, creating them.
Healthy boundaries. You have to create healthy boundaries. And you also need to not allow yourself to get lost in that process. Because you can, it is, and like Justin says, it can be very, but not, it can be very exhausting emotionally and mentally to deal with someone with NPD, because it's like walking on eggshells. You don't know what's going to trigger them.
Right.
And that at any moment they can get upset. So when they're in public, they may be superficially charming to the point where when you tell people about this person, everybody goes, "What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. I don't see that." Yeah,
You mean like dual personality, that kind of thing, right?
it's like that. It's they have a mask that they put on when they are in public, and it's quite superficial. Now you only get affected once the relationship starts to become closer. But on the superficial level, they're charming. They're amazing. You love them. They're great to everyone. They're generous. They come in and they light up the room, and they come in, they work the room, and they dressed impeccably. And they do make you feel like you are the only one in the room. When they talk to you, they're special.
That's dangerous, Nina G. Maybe the audience can
It's
share.
like, oh my God. Then how do you tell when they're already close to you? That's a bit too late. So how do you tell? Are there early signs or what?
The minute that you feel not happy, you feel tired, right?
Yes. So there's different levels, right? We're talking about different levels in a relationship, right? So at first you start to get to know each other. It's very superficial. When you meet people at parties that you've never met before, you get to know them and you introduce yourself, they introduce themselves, and you chit chat, but they're very superficial, right? And then that level, and then once you get to know them better, that's when you got step to get to know people better, right? Their strengths and their weaknesses and everything about them. Now, once you get into that, once they've reeled you in, okay, if we're talking about a partner, for example, once they've reeled you in, it's almost like, okay, well, I've got you now, and I don't have to work at it anymore. I'm just now going to be myself, because it is also exhausting for them to have to put that up all the time, right?
Yeah, because it's not real, right? Yeah.
So it's very difficult, and it is exhausting for them as well, right? So when you see, so unless you've come in contact with a person with NPD and have experienced it and have gone through how challenging it is to be in some kind of relationship with them, whether it's working relationship and family relationships, that's when you start learning the signs, right? So they wine and dine you, that's what I would say they do wine and dine you, and you feel like you have picked me out of everyone else, and they do feel very, very special. But what you also see as you get closer to them is a very fragile sense of self. Right? And so you when you're in public, for example, they need to project an image. So you will see that they will associate themselves with people that they think will reflect who they think they are. So it could be, my friend's a CEO, and my friend is a multimillionaire.
But there's so many.
Yeah, that's what this was saying earlier. You did. And I think social media has actually fueled that in some ways. Has actually sort of, encouraged that. And you see that more.
We love it though. I mean, I love it though, because I get to see who's the fake one.
Yeah.
because you can kind of tell, right. And then you're like, oh, those are all hot air. Blowing hot air.
And this is the thing. You go with your gut instinct. And I think a lot of people don't often talk about that, because what we do is we rationalize. Right.
Right. You're right. We're so good at rationalizing it.
Right. We rationalize it. And then, of course, we have this thing of, well, we don't know them very well. We don't want to be accusing them of being this or being that, because that wouldn't be fair to them. But you have a gut instinct. Children have gut instincts. Children are especially very good at listening to their gut instinct.
Yeah.
You can tell when children like you or not like a person or not like a person. You can tell when animals like a person or not, because they simply learn to listen to their gut instinct. And what we do is we give people a lot of the benefit of the doubt. Right? So we, like I said earlier, you rationalize and you go, no, it can't be. No, this person is very charming. This person is, he takes care of me. He calls me and checks on me every night and to see how I'm doing. But that's only at the beginning, right? But later on, it's when you're in a relationship with an NPD, it's very difficult because you seem to never do anything right.
Yeah.
Right? You never get things right. It's always your fault. You've done that and all that stuff. And then, you've walked in the room with a huff and a puff and now you've ruined my mood. So they don't go, oh, well, you've walked in the room in a huff and a puff. There's something going on. What's going on? What happened? Tell me. They can't do that. It's almost, it's just, you're just annoying me now because you've just ruined my mood. And so that person is constantly blamed for anything and everything. And it's exhausting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I was in a narcissistic relationship. I didn't. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. So, wow, I'm sorry. Now I realize it. Okay, I have a question. So people with narcissistic behavior must obviously attract a certain kind of people who put up with that and don't realize it.
Yeah.
Would you say that? Because there's something for there to learn about themselves, right? Because the moment they learn, they don't attract those kinds of people anymore. They would have moved on, I think, because they would have recognized it and they're like, nah, no way. So what kind of people need to be aware,
So when you go into, and I think this is one of the things that you need to, and every other thing that you need to teach children, I think it's very important to teach children about relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go into a relationship, what is reasonable to expect from a relationship? What's fair in a relationship? How do you feel being in that relationship? Do you feel that you're being heard? Do you feel that your feelings matter, right? So you see a lot of, it needs to be mutual. You need to be able to get out of it as much as you give it, right? So when you don't have that boundary, it's very easy to get sucked in because, and sometimes this is when that person, okay. So NPD can come across as being, you look at them and you go, wow, I wish I had his level of confidence. I wish I can just be like him. He walks or she walks into a room and they're so confident and they seem like they got it all together, right? They just seem to, everything just seems to like kind of the doors open for them, and then you go, I love that. And at first you admire that trait. Right. And so you think, and we're sometimes attracted to things that we feel that we lack, but we admire in a person. Right.
Okay. So we're looking for that, right? And that's why we gravitate towards
so you're thinking, well, that kind of, and it complements, and sometimes it does. It complements, a relationship, So I might be disorganized. My husband is very organized. And I've sort of learned from him, and I love that he's so organized, and I love that he's able to do those things, but I can't do that. But we've learned from that, right? But that doesn't cause me distress, right? And so you are attracted sometimes to that, and also sometimes the individuals who get into a relationship, and I'm talking about when you're not born in a family, and that sort of when that person is not family, right? Because if it's family, you don't get to choose, right? Yeah. But usually when you choose to go into that relationship, like I said, you get sucked in because they are very charming at the beginning, and you think they picked you, and you think it's that you can't believe it, right? And then what happens is sometimes I use this as an example. If you went to on a date with someone, and that person right out from the beginning, gives you a smack right across the face on your first date, right? Right? You would probably
run away,
not come back, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do that at the start. I'm not talking about that they're abusive, but I'm saying when you go into a relationship, people often present the best of themselves. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And so you sort of go, oh my God, right? This person is amazing, makes me feel really special. And it's like I'm the only one that matters to him or her. So, but then slowly, they do it really, really slowly. Okay. And then by that time, sometimes your mindset is, I've invested so much already in this relationship, or you rationalize it and you say to yourself, well, I'm not perfect either. So I can't expect this person to be perfect, right? We all have our imperfections, and you rationalize it again, and then sometimes, they're very good at gaslighting. So they make you feel like it is your fault, that you were the one who did this. You were the one who caused them to feel that way. Instead of owning their own feelings, right? It's you caused them to feel that way. So after a while, once you get into that rut and you get used to that, you become familiar with it.
You think it's normal.
So yeah, so you can still be familiar and it still can be dysfunctional, but you're familiar with it, right? And that's why if you talk about relationships,
that's really bad, because you then think that love is about this, right? Your definition of love is that it's about pain and suffering, I guess. I don't know.
Right. But you also then question yourself, right? So you question yourself. So when you have conversations, for example, if you have children, you have conversations with children, and it doesn't have to be in a relationship. It could be with a friend even. And your idea is you shouldn't let yourself, you should be able to spot those signs, and you shouldn't let yourself be in that relationship. You should, when you see those signs, I'm not asking you to be abusive to that person. I'm not asking you to hate that person, but you could probably walk away. Right. So it is about teaching that because the more you give in, the more fuel you give them. It's more fuel to the fire. Right. And so they're very good at finding people with a certain type of personality, people who will put up with that, people who will rationalize it, people who will, they question themselves and they say, well, am I being a bad person if I walk away just because this person is sometimes, misbehaving?
Yeah.
So you go, but I feel like I need to commit. I've committed myself, and I want to feel like I'm one of those people who do commit, when they get into, an arrangement, for example. So I want to do that. And you rationalize that and you think, well, then you start questioning yourself. If I walk away, then am I being the mean person then? So,
yeah. So maybe I just want to ask even the audience, if you have ever gone through this experience that you didn't even realize that you were having, that you yourself or maybe someone that or you experience with have this narcissistic behavior, maybe you can do share. You didn't even realize that you are, like Nina just realized, oh my God, I was in this kind of relationship. I didn't even know it, right?
And the other thing is,
I'm pretty sure it wasn't just one.
So maybe the audience can share if you have any experience. How did you handle it? How do you handle it? Maybe you can share with us. And if I ask any question with Dr. Nina, you can ask. Yeah.
So while you're doing that, I'll just explain, because what happens is what they do as well is they start cutting you off from other people. They start severing your ties to other people, to people you've known, and then you start becoming very dependent just on them, right? And then once that happens, it's very difficult to get away, because now you've severed your family ties, you've severed, friendship ties, and it's just you and them, and so it becomes a lot easier for them to manipulate.
And sometimes it's not them asking you to sever the ties directly. It can be indirectly too, right?
Yeah, it can be quite direct as well. So they're quite envious that you have relationships with other people, that you seem happy to have relationships with other people, and you're good in other people. Right. So Nizandir asked whether you see narcissistic traits in people more often in leadership positions, right? That push them to the heights, or is it the other way around? They rise up, brought out, so this is almost like a chicken and an egg situation, right? In order for you to be in leadership positions, and a lot of CEOs, even a lot of highly intelligent psychopaths have these traits. Right, because you have to be confident, right? You have to be confident. You have superficial glibness, so you're able to. You're a very good talker. You're a very good charmer, and you need to be. And also, there's they often don't feel guilty. They don't feel a lot of guilt, right? If things go wrong, it's never their fault. It's somebody else's. Oh, I'm sorry. It's too bad that you're feeling that way, but it's not my problem. Right. And so I think in certain leadership positions, it is a cutthroat industry. You have to be making tough calls. You have to be quite confident in what you do, and you have to be thick-skinned, and so you can see some of those, and it does sort of, I think it brings them into that position because of the traits that they possess or that they display. Right. But then, of course, the higher up they get, but what you also see is that these people crash and burn. Now, that's the other thing, right? Because everything is superficial, and then they often get into, they make very bad decisions because they've usually fueled by a desire to maintain a certain image. Right. And so if the image is of, living in a 13, 14 bedroom house, if the image is driving, nice fancy cars and going on fancy travels abroad, they almost, they will get into debt because they try to maintain that image. Right. So you'll see that sometimes they will charm you, at a board meeting, and you go, oh my God, this person really believes in himself. He's really confident. He knows what he's doing and all of that. And then you realize along the way, there's, you start seeing holes in that, in what they're presenting. Okay. So usually a lot of them actually crash and burn. Right. So Nina Justin has expressed it and walked away. If you get a chance to walk away, you walk away.
But if it's your own boss, you can't walk away from your own boss.
That's like I said. You always have options. It's not always the best option, or it's not the
okay. So now we know how to identify who has the narcissistic traits. So how do we handle them is by educating ourselves. One thing, yeah.
Right. And also you need to make sure you don't lose your sense of self as well, which means that you need to have outside support, right? Because when we function day to day, we depend on others to give us ideas about, whether we're doing things right, whether we're being kind. We depend on other people's feedback and input.
Right.
So if you are stuck just in that relationship with that person and they're narcissistic, and you don't have any outside contact whatsoever, you can't, throw things out there and get a response, get feedback from people as to whether things are working out, whether you should be feeling this way, and you whether you should not be feeling this way. So one of that is you need to have a very good system of support. You need to seek that system of support, but you also need to not blame yourself, because they will gaslight and they will blame you.
So that means we need to educate ourselves. We need to get a good support system around us.
Yes.
And I think
not blaming yourself. You have to set boundaries.
Set healthy boundaries. And also you mentioned about they always need that they are fueled by people throwing compliments to them, right?
Yes.
So is that what we need to do as well, to throw in compliments to them?
So they do rely on that, but if you care enough for them, right, can have a conversation where in a kind, compassionate way, you teach them how to not always rely on that to feel good about themselves. Right? Because otherwise, because like I said, they have a very fragile sense of self. They're going to depend on, feedback and input from outside, external, to give them that support, to make them feel really good about themselves. They almost need that as much as they need oxygen. Because that's what they.
No wonder it sets them off.
Yes.
When things don't go right, it sets them off.
Yes, because you've cut off the oxygen,
Yeah.
and
okay.
then they're drowning. They feel like they're drowning. So when they don't have that, they because they don't have a strong sense of self, they don't know now. Without that, what am I then? Right. So that's why they need to depend on outside people. So you
in a way, their upbringing would have caused that, wouldn't it?
Yes. So that's nurture. That's nurture as well. Right. So when if you bring up children, I'm not saying you should never say to your child that they're not special, but you also need to be quite realistic about things that they can achieve, things that they're good at, things that they can always do better, and also identifying that, acknowledging that in other people as well. Well, you're good at that too, well done. And so you create that sense of, I don't always have to be good at something to make myself feel good. I can learn to acknowledge that in others. I can learn to celebrate other people's achievements. I can be okay with that, So you teach children, for example, you can't always give them everything that they want, they are entitled to everything, and that they are you have to make sure that they're grounded, because otherwise they don't learn to look at others. It will always be about me, about what I want.
I'm like getting flashbacks of all these serial killer, because I'm like you, I watch all these stuff, and then I get worked up about it, and then I get into a fight with the guy I'm seeing, because I'm like, oh my god, are you a serial killer? And I even watch them on YouTube, and YouTube keeps suggesting it to me. So I get you.
Yeah. So okay, maybe everyone else, you can share what you have learned for tonight, and thank you so much. Zap here also. Oh my gosh. Oh, I forgot. Nina, my mom. You met my mom when we were in Qatar before.
Yes.
My mom here. She's also saying here, Nina Hafetz, Nina Justy, Nina Sharia, all class women.
And one Zef.
I'm super proud of all your accomplishment. And then also,
hi Zef.
And Zef is tuning in all the way from in the US. USA.
And she's at the doctor's office and watching us. Yay, way to go.
No, doctor's office.
Multitasking.
Yeah. So maybe you guys can share what are the takeaways you have from Nina, Dr. Nina, because for me, I learned a lot, especially in how to identify the narcissistic traits and how I can handle it and protect myself. Because we can't get away with it, because we are surrounded. Maybe I have some of the traits too. I need to identify what is.
How do we know if we have it? Because in any relationship, it's about balance. Or what if we are narcissistic towards our partner?
Usually, with thumb rule, usually if you are questioning it and you are wondering whether you have it, you probably don't.
Oh, okay.
That's because you are self-aware.
Okay.
Oh, so when we self-aware, we're not. Thank God.
Right. So you may be confident, and that's nothing wrong with being confident, But again, you have to balance that with, being sensible about it. You have to balance that with humility. But if you're confident to the point where you're disregarding other people's feelings, and you can tell, usually if you go by your gut instinct, you can go, something's a bit off. I know the person comes across as very confident, but something is a little bit off with this person. That's too much confidence in a person, to the point where they think they can escape everything. They're not going to be they're not going to be accountable or
Is there
responsible.
something off in here? Some chemical imbalance? I mean, I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I
Because
wouldn't
for
say it's a
some,
chemical imbalance. I don't want to say that's wrong, but I would think that it is basically just your genetic makeup, right? Because if you look at personalities, usually they say by about age 6, your personality is set. If you look at children, if you remember children, cousins, or when you were 6, your personality is quite set. You could be very bubbly as a person, or you could be a very quiet person, and all that. So unless you've had major head trauma, or concussions, or you've had surgery, and all that changes your personality. Your personality is very enduring, which is the reason why personality disorders are very difficult to treat.
Ah.
Right? Because it's always asking that person to change who they are.
Oh, so that's why you call it narcissistic personality disorder, because they can't really change
personality disorder. So it's so there's different clusters. And one of that is antisocial personality disorder, and the other one is borderline personality disorder. So if you're asking a person to change it, it's like someone going up to you right now and saying, okay, so according to my book, my DSM here, your personality is disordered. And you go, what? How is my personality disordered? I don't see anything wrong with my personality. And then they say that. So if you said that to a person with very clear indications of narcissistic traits, right? They're going to go, what's wrong? I don't see anything wrong, because they've always been that way. That's always been them. Right? So it's actually very difficult to treat. Not impossible, but very difficult to treat.
Right.
Yeah.
So Nina G, what are your takeaways?
Because learning that I dated a narcissistic person, not just one, probably a few, and not realize it. But for me, is to identify narcissistic behavior, and I think also for me now, because I've grown from there, so I knew it's about boundaries, and I'd like to think that they were in my life to teach me certain things that I needed to learn about myself.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I didn't learn, and that's why I kept getting more and more relationships like that. So, but then I became smarter, like the other Nina, and walked out. Yeah. So thank you, but thank you, because I was kind of wondering. People kept saying narcissistic. I'm like, what is that? Kind of thing. Yeah.
So Nina, Dr. Nina, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
it is
you.
12 now. I think we've gone really.
Oh yeah.
Yes. 11:30, 1.5. Okay, lah.
1 hour and a half. So, so I think we have to end for tonight. Maybe I will have to invite you for my other session on mental health series under Mamaliez Wants to Learn. That is on my Saturday shows. So maybe I will invite you for that show for mental health, and we have more.
Okay. Look, Nina also said I learned the hard way. Next time, I just want shortcut. I wished I had this talk from Dr. Nina. That's all I can say. Could have saved
gut instinct. Listen first to your gut instinct, but sometimes experience is the best teacher. So unless because otherwise you don't learn to break that. You don't come away from that. You always, sometimes the universe just makes you go through it over and over again until, it clicks, until, you sort of make sense, and you go, okay, well, I keep going into this and the same thing keeps happening. And then you look at yourselves, so for me, the takeaway would be education is important. Learning about it is important. There's a lot of information out there. There are a lot of books. There are a lot of audio books. There are a lot of, journal papers. There's, YouTube channels that talk about it. So learn that. And then, the other thing is that you have to always check your unconscious bias. Right? Yeah. Thank you, Auntie. Your mom is so sweet. But you check, where you come from, what your perspectives are, and all of that, and be realistic about it, be very pragmatic about it. And the other thing is always continue to learn. Always.
It's about learning. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Nina, and sharing your inspiring journey and your beautiful garden. I wish get to visit it one day, Nina.
Come again one day.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Paradise in a desert, literally.
Yeah, in the middle of desert. And thank you everyone for watching us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and from Mona from Qatar, Zev in the US, Nina in Amsterdam. So we have everyone from everywhere, and we have some people from Malaysia as well. Thank you for tuning in, and Mamaliez, and hope to see you guys again next week on Friday at 10:30 p.m. Good night.
Good night.
Oh,
Thank
later
you.
with Dr. Nina. Yeah, this is
Date Garcia
we have here
Dr. Nina.
Date Garcia. Okay, okay. I'm not sure where you're listening from, Date, but thank you so much where you, for listening
Maybe
to
we'll
us.
meet again, huh? We'll meet again. Take care. Take care, ladies. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Mana Minari?